Life can be tough. We all face challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But I'm here to tell you something important, something that can change everything if you truly take it to heart. God is there for you, always. Now, you might be thinking, how can that be true? Where is God when I'm struggling, when I feel alone? Those are natural questions. But the truth is, God's presence in our lives isn't always obvious. It's not like a lightning bolt from the sky or a booming voice. No, God works in quieter ways, ways that require us to open our eyes, our minds, and our hearts. Think about the air around you right now. You can't see it, but you know it's there. You're breathing it in and out, second by second. It sustains you, keeps you alive, even though you rarely give it a thought. God's presence is a bit like that. Constant life-giving, but easy to overlook if we're not paying attention. So how do we recognize God's presence? How do we tap into that infinite source of strength and comfort? It starts with awareness. Start looking for the small blessings in your day. That moment of unexpected kindness from a stranger, the beauty of a sunrise, the laugh of a child. These aren't just random nice things, they're reminders that there's goodness in the world, that life has meaning beyond our daily struggles. But it goes deeper than that. God is there in your ability to persevere through tough times. When you find strength you didn't know you had, that's not just you, that's God working through you. When you feel a spark of hope in a dark moment, that's God whispering, keep going. Now, I know some of you might be skeptical. Maybe you've prayed before and felt like those prayers went unanswered. Maybe you've looked at the suffering in the world and wondered how a loving God could allow it. These are big questions, and I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I do know this: God's ways are not our ways. His perspective is infinitely broader than ours. Think about a parent teaching a child to ride a bike. The child falls, scrapes their knee, and cries. In that moment, the child might think the parent is cruel for not catching them. But the parent knows that learning to balance, to get back up after falling, is crucial for the child's growth. God's love for us is like that, sometimes allowing us to face challenges because He knows it will make us stronger in the long run. But here's the key. God doesn't just stand back and watch. He's right there with us, ready to comfort, to guide, to strengthen. We just need to reach out. Prayer isn't about fancy words or rituals. It's about opening your heart, being honest about your fears and hopes. Talk to God like you'd talk to a trusted friend. Share your joys, your worries, your anger, your gratitude. He can handle it all. And then listen, not just with your ears, but with your heart. Sometimes God's guidance comes as a sudden insight. Sometimes it's a feeling of peace that washes over you. Sometimes it's through the words of a friend or a passage in a book that seems to speak directly to your situation. The more you practice this kind of awareness, the more you'll recognize God's hand in your life. Remember, you are not alone in this. Millions of people throughout history have found strength and purpose through their faith in God. Think about some of the greatest figures in history, people who overcame incredible odds, who changed the world for the better. So many of them attribute their success and resilience to their faith. Take Mother Teresa, for example. She faced poverty, illness, and overwhelming challenges in her work. But her unwavering belief that God was with her gave her the strength to keep going, to touch countless lives. Or consider Nelson Mandela, who endured years of imprisonment, but emerged with a spirit of forgiveness and reconciliation that transformed a nation. His faith sustained him through the darkest times. These aren't just stories from history books. I've seen it in my own life and in the lives of people I've met. I remember talking to a woman who had lost everything in a natural disaster. Her home, her possessions, gone in an instant. But she told me with tears in her eyes and a smile on her face, I still have God, and that means I still have everything that truly matters. That's the power of knowing God is there for you. It doesn't mean life will be easy. It doesn't mean you won't face hardships or heartbreaks, but it does mean you have an unshakable foundation, a source of strength that never runs dry. So how do we build and strengthen that connection with God? It's not complicated, but it does take effort and consistency. Start your day with gratitude. Before you even get out of bed, thank God for the gift of a new day, for the opportunities it holds. Throughout your day, practice mindfulness. Notice the beauty around you, the kindness of others. These are all gifts from God. Make time for quiet reflection. In our busy, noisy world, it's easy to get distracted. But God often speaks in the stillness. Even just a few minutes of quiet meditation or prayer can make a huge difference. Read inspiring books, listen to uplifting music. Surround yourself with things that remind you of God's goodness and love. Equally important is how we treat others. Remember, we are all God's children. When you show kindness to others, when you forgive, when you lend a helping hand, you're not just being a good person. You're actively participating in God's work in the world. You're becoming a channel for His love. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. God knows we're human. He knows we make mistakes, that we struggle, that we doubt. That's okay. What matters is that we keep trying, that we keep our hearts open to His guidance and love. When you face setbacks, and you will face setbacks, don't see them as punishments or signs that God has abandoned you. See them as opportunities for growth. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger? Trust that God has a plan, even when you can't see it. Think about a tapestry being woven. If you look at the underside, it's a mess of knots and tangled threads. But flip it over, and you see a beautiful picture. Our lives are like that. From our limited perspective, things might look chaotic or meaningless. But God sees the full picture. He's weaving something beautiful, even out of our struggles and mistakes. Now, I want to address those of you who might be feeling particularly lost or hopeless right now. Maybe you're facing a health crisis, a financial disaster, the loss of a loved one. Maybe you feel like you've made too many mistakes, that you're beyond help or forgiveness. I want you to hear this, really hear it. God has not forgotten you. His love for you is unconditional and unending. No matter where you are, no matter what you've done, you can start fresh right now. This very moment, take a deep breath. Feel the air filling your lungs. That's God giving you life, giving you another chance. His mercies are new every morning. Every breath is an opportunity to start again, to realign yourself with His purpose for your life. Remember, some of the most inspiring stories of faith are about people who hit rock bottom before they found their way. Think about the story of the prodigal son. He squandered everything, ended up in the lowest place imaginable. But when he turned back to his father, he was welcomed with open arms, with celebration. That's how God feels about you. No matter how far you've strayed, He's waiting with open arms. Your past does not define your future. Your mistakes do not outweigh your worth in God's eyes. He sees your potential, your true self. He loves you not for what you've done or what you might do, but simply because you are His child. Let that sink in. Really let it sink in. You are loved unconditionally by the Creator of the universe. This truth has the power to transform your life. When you truly understand and accept God's love for you, it changes how you see yourself and the world around you. You start to recognize your own worth. You become more resilient in the face of criticism or setbacks. You find the courage to pursue your dreams, knowing that the God of the universe is cheering you on. But here's the thing. This isn't just about feeling good about yourself. Understanding God's love for you should inspire you to live differently, to live with purpose, with kindness, with integrity, to use your unique gifts and talents to make the world a better place. Because when you do that, you're not just fulfilling your own potential, you're actively participating in God's plan for the world. Think about the ripple effect of one act of kindness. You help someone brighten their day. That person is then more likely to be kind to others. And so it spreads. That's how we change the world. One person, one action at a time. And it all starts with recognizing that God is there for you, empowering you to be a force for good. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, this all sounds nice, but how do I actually feel God's presence? How do I know He's really there? It's a fair question. Faith isn't always easy. Doubt is a natural part of the human experience. Even some of the greatest spiritual leaders in history have had moments of doubt. The key is to cultivate your spiritual senses, just like you had to learn to read or to ride a bike. Recognizing God's presence is a skill you can develop. Start by being intentional about looking for signs of His goodness. Keep a gratitude journal. At the end of each day, write down 3 things you're thankful for. This simple practice can radically shift your perspective. Practice seeing people as God sees them. Every person you meet is a beloved child of God with their own struggles, their own divine spark. When you start to see the world this way, you'll find yourself becoming more compassionate, more understanding. And in doing so, you'll be aligning yourself more closely with God's heart. Listen to the still, small voice inside you. That voice that nudges you to do the right thing, even when it's hard. That's often God speaking to you. The more you listen and act on those promptings, the clearer that voice. Surround yourself with people who encourage your faith. Find a community of believers who can support you, challenge you, and grow with you. Share your doubts and your victories. Learn from each other. Remember, we're not meant to walk this journey alone. Serve others. When you reach out to help those in need, you're not just doing a good deed. You're experiencing God's love flowing through you. It's in those moments of selfless service that many people feel closest to God. Study the stories of people who have walked this path before you. Read about the lives of saints, of modern-day heroes of faith. Not to put them on a pedestal, but to learn from their experiences, to be inspired by their courage and conviction. And here's something crucial, so don't be afraid to ask questions. God is big enough to handle your doubts, your frustrations, your anger. Bring it all to Him. Wrestling with tough questions can actually strengthen your faith, make it more resilient and meaningful. Remember, faith is not the absence of doubt. It's the choice to trust even in the midst of uncertainty. It's about taking that step forward, even when you can't see the whole path. That's where real growth happens. As we near the end of our time together, I want to leave you with this thought. God's love for you is not based on your performance. It's not about how good you are, how often you pray, or how many kind deeds you do. Those things are important, but they're a response to God's love, not a prerequisite for it. God loves you right now as you are, with all your flaws, all your doubts, all your mistakes, and nothing can change that. Nothing can separate you from His love. That's the bedrock you can build your life on. So, my friends, as you leave here today, remember, you're not alone. You are loved beyond measure. You have a purpose, and God is there for you every step of the way. Let that truth sink deep into your heart. Let it change how you see yourself and the world around you. Walk out of here with your head held high, knowing that the Creator of the universe is on your side. Face your challenges with courage, knowing that God is with you. Treat others with kindness, knowing that you're extending God's love to them. Live with purpose, knowing that you have a unique role to play in God's grand design. You have everything you need within you because God is there for you, always has been, always will be. Embrace that truth. Live it out, and watch as it transforms your life and the lives of those around you. Thank you for listening. Now go out there and live the extraordinary life God has planned for you. Remember, with God by your side, nothing is impossible. The best is yet to come. As you step out into the world, carry this message in your heart. Let it be the fuel that drives you forward, the light that guides you through dark times. Your life is a canvas, and God is the master artist. He's painting a masterpiece, and you're an essential part of it. Think about that for a moment. You are part of God's grand design. That means every day, every interaction, every choice you make matters. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present, being open to God's guidance, and being willing to grow. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, that sounds great, but my life feels pretty ordinary. How can I live an extraordinary life when I'm just trying to pay the bills and get through the day? That's a fair question. The truth is, extraordinary doesn't always mean big or flashy. Sometimes the most extraordinary things happen in the quiet moments, in the small acts of kindness, in the daily choices to do what's right even when it's hard. Remember, God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. You don't need special talents or a fancy education to make a difference. You just need a willing heart and open eyes. Look around you. There are opportunities to spread God's love everywhere. Encouraging word to a stressed-out cashier, a helping hand to an elderly neighbor, a listening ear to a friend going through a tough time. These might seem small, but they're not small to God. They're not small to the people whose lives you touch. And here's the amazing thing. As you step out in faith, as you start living with this awareness of God's presence and purpose, you'll find yourself changing. You'll become more patient, more compassionate, more resilient. You'll start to see the world through God's eyes, and that changes everything. You begin to notice the beauty in everyday moments, the way the sunlight filters through the leaves, the sound of children laughing, the taste of your morning coffee. These aren't just nice things. They're gifts from God, reminders of His love and care for you. As you cultivate this awareness, you'll find yourself becoming more grateful. And gratitude is like a superpower. It transforms how you experience life. Instead of focusing on what you lack, you'll start appreciating what you have. This shift in perspective can revolutionize your life. Now, I'm not saying it's always going to be easy. Life will still have its challenges. You'll still face disappointments, setbacks, and losses. But when you know God is there for you, you face these challenges differently. You have an unshakable foundation, a source of strength that never runs dry. When you hit obstacles, and you will hit obstacles, remember that God is using them to shape you, to strengthen you. Just like a blacksmith uses heat and pressure to forge strong metal, God uses life's challenges to forge strong character. Trust the process, even when you can't see the purpose. Know that God is working all things together for your good. And here's something crucial to remember. God's timeline is not our timeline. In our fast-paced world, we often expect instant results, but God's work in our lives is often slow and steady. It's like planting a seed. You don't see the growth happening underground, but one day you look up and see a mighty oak tree. So be patient with yourself and with God's plan for your life. Keep taking those small steps of faith. Keep showing up, keep trying, keep believing. Over time, you'll look back and be amazed at how far you've come. Now let's talk about purpose. Many people spend their lives searching for their purpose, feeling lost or unfulfilled. But when you understand that God is there for you, that He has a plan for your life, it changes everything. Your purpose isn't something you have to frantically search for. It unfolds naturally as you walk with God. Your purpose is multifaceted. At its core, it's about loving God and loving others. But how that plays out in your life will be unique to you. It's about using your specific gifts, talents, and experiences to make a positive impact in the world. Maybe your purpose is to be an incredible parent, raising children who will go on to change the world. Maybe it's to be a teacher who inspires a love of learning in your students. Maybe it's to be a business leader who creates jobs and improves your community. Or maybe it's simply to be a good friend, a listening ear, a source of encouragement to those around you. Whatever your specific calling, know this. You are needed. The world needs your unique blend of talents, your perspective, your love. Don't ever think you're too small to make a difference. Remember the story of the boy and the starfish. He was walking along a beach covered in stranded starfish, throwing them back into the ocean one by one. Someone told him he couldn't possibly make a difference. There were too many. As he threw another starfish into the water, he said, "I made a difference to that one." That's how we change the world. One act of love at a time. As you go forward, I want to encourage you to dream big, not just for yourself, but for what God can do through you. Too often, we limit ourselves. We think small because we're afraid of disappointment or failure. But remember, with God, all things are possible. He can do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine. So allow yourself to imagine, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? What dreams has God placed in your heart? Maybe it's starting a business that provides jobs for the underprivileged. Maybe it's writing a book that brings hope to people in dark places. Maybe it's fostering children, giving them a loving home. Whatever it is, don't dismiss it as impossible. Bring those dreams to God. Ask for His guidance, His wisdom, His strength to pursue them. And as you pursue these dreams, remember that success in God's eyes often looks different from the world's definition of success. It's not about money or fame or power. It's about faithfulness. It's about using what you've been given to bless others and glorify God. That's true success. Now, I want to address something important. As you go out there, living with this awareness of God's presence and purpose, you're going to face opposition. Some people won't understand. Some might mock your faith or try to discourage you. Don't let that shake you. Remember, you answer to God, not to people's opinions. At the same time, be gracious. Your life should be a testimony to God's love. Let people see the difference God makes in your life through your actions, your attitude, your love for others. As St. Francis of Assisi said, preach the gospel at all times. Use words if necessary. Another challenge you might face is discouragement. There will be times when you feel like you're not making progress, when your efforts seem futile. In those moments, remember the bamboo farmer. For years, he waters and tends his field, seeing no visible results. But he keeps at it, trusting the process. Then, in the 5th year, the bamboo suddenly shoots up, growing up to 90 feet in just 6 weeks. All that unseen growth underground finally manifests. Your spiritual and personal growth can be like that. Keep going, even when you can't see the results yet. As we near the end of our time together, I want to circle back to where we started. God is there for you, always, in your highest highs and your lowest lows, in your moments of triumph and in your darkest nights of the soul. He's there in the ordinary Tuesday afternoons and in the life-changing moments. This truth should fill you with confidence. Not arrogance, but a quiet, unshakable assurance that you are loved, that you have value, that your life has meaning. Walk tall, knowing that the Creator of the universe is on your side. But with this assurance comes responsibility. If God is for you, be for others. Extend the love and grace you've received to those around you. Be a reflection of God's love in the world. In a world that can be harsh and divisive, be a source of kindness and unity. Remember, you might be the only Bible some people ever read. Your life, your actions, your words, they all matter. They all have the potential to point people towards God's love. So, live with purpose, live with love. As you leave here today, I challenge you to do something. Take a moment right now to commit to living with this awareness of God's presence. Make a decision to start each day by acknowledging God, by inviting Him into every aspect of your life. It could be as simple as saying, God, I know you're with me today. Guide my steps, my words, my action, and then watch for the ways God shows up in your life, in the kind word from a stranger, in the strength you find to forgive, in the peace you feel in a difficult situation. The more you look for God's presence, the more you'll see it. Finally, remember this story is still being written. No matter what your past looks like, no matter where you are right now, the best is yet to come. Because God is not finished with you yet. He's still working, still shaping, still loving you. So go out there with hope in your heart and a spring in your step. Face the future with confidence, knowing that God is there for you. Live each day to its fullest, knowing that it's a gift from God. Love deeply, forgive freely, serve generously. Be the person God created you to be. The world is waiting for you. It's waiting for the unique contribution that only you can make. So step out in faith, take risks, love boldly, dream big, and through it all, keep your eyes fixed on God, the author and perfecter of your faith. Remember, with God by your side, nothing is impossible. The best is yet to come, and that best begins now with the choices you make today, so make them count. Live the extraordinary life God has planned for you. It's time. Your adventure with God awaits.